Right. Yeah, we got the legend herself, Kristen Mackie. Uh, you know what? So yeah, so I'm gonna read the bio you have for Roosevelt University. Before assuming the position of Fast Track Theater Coordinator in 2018, Kristen retired from secondary education, my school, Guerin College Prep. After 40 years of teaching, 32 of those years were at Guerin College Prep School in River Grove. While at Guerin Prep, Kristen taught a variety of theater and English classes, was the director and technical director of over 80 productions, and was the Fine Arts Development Chair for several of those years. Kristen students were chosen to perform at the American High School Theatrefest in conjunction with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1997, 2003, and 2013. I remember that. Kristen has served on the board of the Illinois Theater Association in several positions, including president, wow, VP, secretary, and secondary division chair. She also served on the planning committee for the Illinois High School Theatrefest in several positions, including executive director, workshops, exhibits, and college university auditions. She was the technical advisor for the 2000 Big River and 2006 A Chorus Line All-State Productions, the producer of the 1990 The Wiz All-State production, and director for the 2005 All-State production of Ragtime. In 2008, Kristen received the Illinois Theater Association Award for Honor for Outstanding Contribution to Theater in Illinois. I think that sounds like some legendary stuff.
I
Do you
okay.
not see yourself as a legend?
Well, no, I don't.
Really? Why not?
I just enjoy what I do. I don't.
No, nothing. Well, you also received your Bachelor's of Science in Speech and Theater from Bradley University and Master's of Arts degree in Directing from the CCPA at Roosevelt University, fast track class of '09. So were they just like, you've done this so much, you know so much already, just like take your degree, please? Is that kind of how it went?
No, I mean, you mean giving me the degree?
Yeah.
No, I went through the program. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a program that was started close to 30 years ago. Um, and it's the program that I'm in charge of now.
Oh wow.
Um, and it was a great way to sort of, it was just sort of in the middle of my teaching career, and it helped sort of revive my love of what I do and gave me some new ideas on how to approach directing and reinforce stuff I was already doing. And it was a great way to meet people from all over the US and get ideas on what they did. And then in 2018, the gentleman that had been in charge of the program for almost 25 years decided to retire and encouraged me to apply. So I did. So I had been considering retiring from Guerin at that point. And so I took over the program in 2018, and that's what I do now.
Oh wow. You were at Garen for 32 years. Oh my gosh. Do you mind if we start with like your life story and how you got started
Sure.
a few years ago?
You, yes.
uh so how did you find the stage, I guess?
Well,
Like
my parents always took us, me, my siblings, to the theater. They both loved the theater. Um, I, I guess it was middle school the first time I was in a play, and I just really loved it. I loved the storytelling aspect of it, and sort of been a lifelong love being involved in productions. And then I still love going to the theater. I've been very sad not going to the theater for a year now, but so that's how I got involved.
Do you remember that play in middle school?
Yeah, it was Cheaper by the Dozen.
Really? Oh, wow, that's funny. And
Yeah,
you were one of the 12 kids, I'm assuming?
one of the 12 kids. And this was the original, not the movie. The movie that came out with Steve Martin was an updated version of it. The original was based on a family in New Jersey in the 20s and 30s. So
It was a movie before the one with Steve Martin, right?
you're right.
I think it was like the 80s, I want to say.
Well, no, the original movie was a black and white that I think came out in maybe the 50s or 60s.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I knew I knew it was a remake. I just didn't know exactly when that original one came out.
Mm-hmm.
So then, did you keep doing plays immediately after? Were you like, oh snap,
Yeah,
this is amazing?
I did. And part of it too is that when you're that young, I think you think about the aspect of meeting people. I mean, it was great fun.
Yeah,
But I have friends still today that I did that play with. I mean, they were old friends of mine growing up. And in fact, oh my gosh, several of them have, I mean, I grew up in Colorado.
oh, I didn't know that.
And several of them have come out over the years when I did a show at Guerin to see what I do. And it was fun to have them see my work as an adult when we all did things as kids.
Yeah, for those that don't know, and a lot of people don't know, when you're doing a production and you're around like the same group of people for 30, 40, 50 hours, like you really do become a family, and
Yeah.
that really does last forever. Damn. I'm like reminiscing about it now. It's really a great time to do a production. So then, were you active in theater in high school as well?
Mm-hmm.
And how did that go?
It went well. My parents moved to a very small town my junior year of high school, and the school sort of didn't really have theater. They maybe did one play a year. So my parents allowed me to do theater at a local college.
Oh, wow.
So that was great. By that point, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
So,
And you were a high schooler doing plays with fully grown adults?
well,
Oh, well, college kids.
college kids,
Right,
what?
right.
3 or 4 years older than college. So yeah, fully grown adults.
Well, yes, fully matured young adults.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and this was also in Colorado?
This was in Colorado.
Oh, wow. I never knew you were from Colorado. How long when did you move to Chicago?
Well, I moved to Chicago after I graduated from college. I graduated from Bradley University, that's in Peoria. And after that, I decided to move to Chicago. Actually, probably from the time I was aware of cities. I mean, I always wanted to live in New York. And when I graduated from college, I think I could get a job in New York. So I moved to Chicago.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I think, well, my personal opinion, I think you could have made it, but obviously you know your life better than me. I don't know. I think it's possible. So you were an actor. Did you also work like as a director before graduating, or were you just
Well,
starting?
when I first went to school after high school, I started school at a performing arts school in San Diego. I was a musical theater voice major,
Hmm.
and with intentions of professional theater. No way did I want to teach. But then in the summer, I was working at a camp and started directing and really enjoyed it. And then I got not performance anxiety, but I hated auditioning.
Yeah.
So I then started directing and never looked back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Auditioning can be very, very tough. What was it about auditioning? Like, what part of it gave you the anxiety? Was it like sitting in front of a stranger, or like not having enough prep time?
No, being prepped wasn't, I don't know. It just gave me anxiety.
Like the way like students get anxiety before a big exam or something?
Yeah. So it just was, you know, I started directing and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with students. Um, so I started teaching.
And then did you immediately start teaching high school kids?
Yeah, I taught high school for about 5 years, and then there was a couple years I was teaching grade school, and then, you know, the last 32 were at Guerin.
Wow. Uh what was uh what was the reason you stayed like teaching kids rather than adults, or like college, or like community theater?
Well, I like the energy of high school kids, and
Uh,
I didn't want, teaching on the college level, I didn't have the degrees for it.
mhm.
I didn't want to do community theater,
Mhm.
you know, so that's why I stayed with high school for so long.
You need a PhD to teach college, right?
Well, it depends on where they're hiring. Some schools will hire you with a master's. Uh, Big, huge theater programs, you have to have an MFA,
Masters
Master
in
Fine
Fine
Arts.
Arts. Yeah. I didn't know that. I've been interviewing a couple of my professors, and they are just so
Okay,
bright.
hang on a second. They're
They're calling.
digging out snow out my door.
Oh, that's what that is. So for those that don't know, yeah, it's like 0 degrees, and then we've had like 2 different snowstorms, and the lights just went out right here for me. There's a lot going on in our city.
Okay, I think I can hear you better now.
So, what made you want to stay with the stage rather than like, ay, 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 rather than like film or television?
Well, theater is live.
I know it's amazing. You feed on that.
There's always that variable. And over the years when people go, oh, didn't you want a recording of that show? And it's like, no,
Really?
no, no two performances were the same.
Hmm.
There was something, I wouldn't say that went wrong, but something that was different about every performance that I just didn't want to put it on film. Um,
So you never recorded any of them?
People recorded them. I
You told them not to, and they
I told
didn't.
them, well, first of all, it's infringement of copyright to film them.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that.
So if some parent wanted to sit in the back and do a lousy recording, fine. I was just going to pretend I didn't see it because they were really breaking the law.
I don't know. I would have loved to see my one lead lead production. What was it? Guys and Dolls.
Guys and dolls.
Do
I'm
you
sure there's
remember?
some recording out there somewhere.
Do you remember all the productions you did at Guerin?
Pretty much.
Really? What is that, like 60, 64 productions, right? You did 2 a year.
Well, there were some years I did more than two. I mean, there was always a production out of each of the theater classes. And then for a long time when I did the grade school drama program, so they always did a show a semester. So probably I directed over 100 plays.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So how do you like stay fresh with the ideas? Like,
Well, there are times that you're going, oh my God, nothing is hitting me. I don't know, but I think a lot of times it was the kids in the show.
really?
They would bring, well, and you can know a script really, really well, and then you're listening to a couple people go through a scene and have a whole new insights into what's going on, what's in that script. And that was one of the things that's always appealed to me, is that you can start a project and learn so much about that script from the people that are working on it, without them even knowing that they are teaching you new things.
Wow, that's so insane to think about. Like somebody, so like what's how much of a difference is it? Is it like just the different way that somebody would say the lines, or would it say, "Hey, Miss Mackie, what if we like tried this?"
That's part of it. Sometimes just hearing it out loud rather than reading it, you suddenly say, oh, I think the playwright meant this, not what I thought just reading it.
And did you ever repeat plays after a couple years, few years?
Repeated a few. I mean, as Guerin got smaller,
Yeah.
and the thing is, every time I would pick shows, it would be, okay, who are the potential students that are going to be auditioning?
Mm-hmm.
Can I afford to do it? Uh, Things like that. I mean, a lot of my choice was always based on that, plus the fact that all the shows I did at Guerin, I was also the technical director. So it was sort of, can I afford to build the sets?
Yeah, I remember Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon. I remember that one. That one had like no set,
Yeah.
almost
Well,
no set.
very little set. Because my thought with that one was, I was hoping when I picked it that we would be chosen to go to the theater festival, which we were.
And
So
we did, and we did perform that, didn't we?
yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a fun time. Oh my goodness. Did you ever think like, man, I'm really loving life. Like, how did I even get here? Did you ever think that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I mean, uh, I loved my years at Guerin. I'm now with my new position. It's a whole new
Oh,
life there. I mean, it's very different than what I did at Guerin. I don't I don't direct, and I'm not really teaching. I'm sort of the administrator for this program.
so you're like the manager making everything run smooth?
Well, I always sort of try and describe it to people as that, okay, I guess you would say I'm the not the principal, but what I do, my job is I take applications. People apply to the university. I look at it. I choose who's going to be in the program. I hire the instructors. I figure out the schedule. I, when there is theater to
Yeah.
go to in Chicago, I plan those trips to the theater. Um, I oversee their thesis production. They,
Thesis
as their
production.
thesis for their masters, there's paperwork that they have to do as far as uh, preparing for the production, the analysis of the script. So I oversee that. I have to evaluate that. And then I travel to see their final show that they do for their masters and evaluate that. So, you know, it keeps me busy. It's very different. And it's great to meet people from all over the US that are in the program that come from big schools, small schools, people that have lots of money in their school, others that are just getting by. Like, so that's great. I mean, I have lots of friends from when I went through the program from all over the US, and it's great to just sort of hear what's going on, because I think a lot of times, because being in production takes up so much of your time, you don't really get to see some of the, you know, yes, there were teachers at Guerin that I knew, but I didn't spend much time with any of the faculty because I was always in the auditorium.
Yes.
Working on shows.
Yeah. Working on a production is you do stay in that bubble. And all of us, you know, goofballs were just on the stage. You had to do everything else besides that. Like all the planning and obviously all the directing. Do you ever miss it, like being in the trenches in the production?
Yeah, I mean, well, yes, I do miss the directing. I have in the last couple years built a couple sets for people at Loyola Academy. A friend of mine is the theater director there, and they hired me to come in and build some scene reforms. So that's nice. That was different. You know, yes, I don't miss the teaching, but I really enjoy this program that I'm involved with now. So, you know, it's just a different way of enjoying and appreciating theater.
Do you have any hobbies outside of theater, outside of the stage?
Well, I love to cook.
Oh, nice.
I love to read. I love to travel. Who's traveling these days, though? You know, so yeah, I do.
Do you know Michael Imperioli?
I know the name.
He was Christopher Moltisanti on The Sopranos. He did Dead Presidents.
Oh yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
He said if I remember right, he said his parents took him to plays and that's how he got involved. He went to, maybe you've heard the name, Lee Strasberg. Have you heard that name? In New York?
Maybe.
Well, he said he went to like that person's school and, you know, that's how he got involved in acting. And he said that he literally has no hobbies outside of acting, outside of theater, outside of, you know, TV, because he doesn't do very much film. But I don't know. I felt like you being so in theater, like that was the life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like me, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going in life.
And that's okay. You're still young.
Kinda. I'm 26 now.
Oh my gosh, so old.
My knees creak in this cold weather. It's terrible.
Well, don't everyone's? I mean, this weather is just.
Yeah, it's like -5 right now. I don't know. Do you even have like favorite actors that you've taught?
That I taught, or that I.
No, that you taught, and then.
Oh.
Besides me.
Okay. Were you in How to Succeed?
Yes, I was, but
okay.
I had one line.
Okay. Well, you know the guy that was the lead in that, Anthony Norman.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was in a show, a Broadway show last year.
Oh wow!
So I went to see that. It was great. So he's been very lucky since he graduated from college.
I'm sure he's been working really hard.
And then, you know, I've had several students that have done professional theater in Chicago, and some that have gone to New York.
Is it? Do you think it's possible to make it like in Chicago?
Oh, sure. Sure. That I think the advantage of Chicago, at least getting started, is there are so many, well, there were before the pandemic,
Yeah.
so many professional theaters. So there were lots of opportunities to audition and find stuff to do. And to me, I mean, about theater is that, if you can't see yourself doing anything else, then go for it. Just, you know,
As the
if
kids
you're,
say, YOLO.
yeah, and just keep going. And I hope, so hope when this pandemic is over and theater starts up again, that theaters are able to open. It's very hard every time I read another small theater that says, even if once we are able to do shows again, we won't be able to do it. We are closing this place forever. So that's hard.
Oh,
But there's nothing like theater. You know, it's not just the act. I mean, there's so many jobs involved with a production, not just the actors, but the director, all the technical people, all the behind the scenes. And I just think it's just an amazing profession.
oh wow.
So,
Yeah, it is. It really is. Honestly, I want to get into directing, not stage, but like, a couple other things, and I'm kind of scared. I might have to like, you know, pick your brain on how to direct stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like,
well, I think directing, a lot of it's, you just got to go for it and try and see what works. And you know if you didn't have things that were not successful, you would never move forward. I think
yeah,
that's one of the great things about theater, is as actors, as directors, it's like, okay, let's try, and what works, what doesn't work, and then the next time we'll approach it differently. And there's so much about it. I mean, it's a reflection of life. So everything you do in life prepares you to approach a play.
yeah, that's true. I think the only way to compare something to stage is like maybe stand-up comedy. Like you don't start, with an hour of material. You do, 2-minute open mics and then 5 minutes, and then you get like a solid 10 minutes.
Well, it's the more you can experience, the better. I mean, I always encourage when students would say, well, what do I need to do? And I said, well, it goes beyond just taking classes. Take classes, as many as you can, with as many different points of view.
Hmm.
Read plays, read books about actors and directors and what they advise worked and didn't work, and audition. Or if you want to direct, put your stuff in, resume. Find places where they're looking for assistant directors, because that's a great way to train too, is to work with someone that has been doing it, and you can decide whether, oh, I don't like the way they approach this, or I really do like the way they approach this. So it's like
And then
you
take
learn
a mental
from
note.
each other. I mean, again, like I said, I learned a lot from all of you over the years, just the way you looked at life. So,
Yeah, but we were like 15, 16, 17, and 18. We didn't know anything.
well, it's not that. It's not whether you knew something. It's just how you looked at the world. Sometimes
Okay, that's a good.
when you think about it in real life, outside of rehearsals or something, when someone has a point of view of something, it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't see that. And that's what theater is too. It's that it's different points of view. A playwright writes a play, and it's a point of view that they're setting forth in that script.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Um, So what do you tell actors, out of work actors that are like, oh, Ms. Mackey, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Like,
Again, keep, if this is what you want to do, keep at it. I mean, I think it becomes a point in time when people make a decision of, can I continue doing this, or I just don't have the spirit in myself to continue this journey. I mean, you hear about these people when they suddenly are very successful, like when you hear that term overnight success. Well, 99% of the time, it's not an overnight success. It's people that have been in the trenches, auditioning, taking classes, working on things on stage, behind the scenes. You know, a lot of people in this city, actors who work in these very small theaters and do everything besides being on stage just to learn more.
yeah, then that's when you really do love it. I think at that point you have to love it
Yeah.
because you will not be an overnight success 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm not mistaken, directing isn't just making sure people know where to go. It's also like how do you say, juggling egos, right? Or managing egos and tempers and, you know, relationships between the cast and crew. What is that like? Having
Well, it
that.
is. It is a balance. But you know, a lot of the director's job happens long before they work with the actors. It's preparing for what you're going to do. I mean, you have to honor the playwright. If you're working on a production, you owe it to that playwright to be able to get from your actors to telling the story that the playwright wanted told. So there's all that preparation. Yes, then when you're in rehearsals, it's managing those egos, and hopefully it becomes a collaborative thing of like, everybody wants to make it better. Everybody wants to try and find ways to tell that story. And yes, sometimes egos where you're going, wait a minute, we're in this together. But I mean, there's also a lot of difference between high school theater and professional. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I could see one per I how do you say? I could see one person saying, "Why do I only have 32 lines? I should be the star of the show."
but that's very high school. You know,
Well,
it's
some
like
people
if you're in it
never,
for the number of lines, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
some people never grow out of that.
Uh, Professional theater, it's like, look, you have a paying job.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't say that. You know, it's like take it or leave it, because they can uh, probably find 50 people instantly to replace you if you're complaining because you only have 32 lines.
Which, if we're being honest, 32 isn't that much, but it's not nothing. It isn't
Yeah,
nothing.
but that's not the point. That you could have 5 lines, but have the 5 most important lines of a play.
And make sure they're said with conviction and
Well, not conviction. It's that it showcases. I mean, sometimes very small parts are the best because they have the best characters that they're playing. So who cares if you have very few lines? You're able to really showcase your talent in those very few lines.
yeah. I know from experience in How to Succeed, I had 2 lines, or I had 1 line, and it was coffee break. And let me tell you, I stole that scene.
So
I don't know if you remember that. Uh, what are your personal favorite plays to do, or musicals, or what is it? Playwrights. Like, who are some of your favorites?
One of my favorite playwrights. Uh, well, I love the plays of, it's an Irish playwright, Martin McDonagh, because I think he has fascinating characters and fascinating stories.
Mark McDonagh.
Right. I love all the plays of August Wilson, who was an African-American playwright who wrote a series of plays, each one set in a different decade, that sort of centered around some African-American experience of that. In fact, one of his very famous plays just was released as a movie, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And then a couple of years ago, one of his plays, Fences, which got a lot of notoriety in film. I like his plays. Who else do I like? I don't know. There's lots of different playwrights. Sometimes it depends. I just like the play, so.
So then who do you think is like the greatest
Play, right, or actor?
playwright?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
It sort of depends on the time period. So,
Because people have been making plays since what, ancient Greece or ancient Rome? One of those, right?
well, theater goes back to ancient Greece. It was a way of honoring the gods, is how it was performed in Greece.
Is that where we get the two theater masks? Those like
started there.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
Wow.
The term thespian, which is an actor, goes back to an ancient actor named Thespis.
That was a person?
Stadium seating, like in a football field.
Yeah.
That goes back to ancient Greece. Wow. So.
And people would like memorize hours upon hours worth of lines, right?
Well, in ancient Greece, it was only men.
Okay.
And the original stuff was as a chorus, speaking vocally, not singing, but as a group, they would play different things. And then it sort of evolved into actors and a chorus, and then eventually just individual actors. And you had to be chosen to do this. It was sort of an honor.
Oh, really?
And then they only performed festivals to sort of honor the gods.
So like on a feast day, or like all right.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't know that part. I feel like I should have known that. I think I did know that at one point. Maybe. I don't know. So maybe you know the answer to this, and I've been thinking about this forever, since high school. Why do we study William Shakespeare so much?
Well, he is considered probably the greatest playwright. The number of plays that he wrote, the stories, they're very interesting. His use of language, I mean, he sort of set the standard for how plays are, structured and characters and stuff like that.
Do you mean like the 3-act play? Like he's popularized it?
His plays had usually 5 acts.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it. Back in the 1600s, there wasn't anything like television. So people, you would go for the day.
Wow. That sounds like a lot.
Well, it was a very social thing. You'd go and, you would drink and party during the performances, and I'm sure they had breaks between acts and
To get your mead.
yeah.
To get your wine. That's
So,
funny. Have you ever heard of a director that did a Shakespeare play? I forgot which one, but one of the deaths was like on screen or on stage rather than off stage. Have you ever heard of that?
I mean, death as in,
Like one of the character has a death scene, but you know how like Shakespeare has them off stage and then somebody comes in like,
no,
oh, they
that's the
should.
Greeks. The Greeks had deaths off stage because it was against Greek religious law to have it on stage.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Shakespeare has lots of death on stage.
Really?
Tons of death on stage.
I can only think of obviously Romeo and Juliet. Did he write Hamlet and
Yes.
Macbeth?
Yes.
Othello? No.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh, he did write Othello. Yeah, those are the only ones I could think of. Is it, in your humble opinion, do you think he stole those plays?
No.
You think he wrote them?
Yes.
Where do you think that even came from? Do you think it's
Well,
inherent on a great person?
No, I think it's like, I think part of it comes from the fact that none of his plays were published until after his death.
Really? Oh, wow.
What they did was he would sort of write down the storyline, and then each of the actors would sort of just get their part, and it was all these different editions of things. And it was after his death that his friends said, we need to put all of these together and have them published.
Wait, so he never put his plays out?
Well, not to have them published. He wrote them because the acting company that he was in, they would perform them. But it wasn't like today you write a play and you go and find a publisher to publish it.
So his plays were acted when he was alive.
Oh yeah, and he acted in them.
Oh, he acted in them. Oh wow. Wow. All right. Double threat. Oh wait, no, he was a writer, director, and act. Triple threat. There we go.
Well, directors as we know them today really didn't come into existence until years and years later. You really, it's like they all sort of worked together and said, let's try it this way and let's do something this way. Didn't really have what we define as a director today.
So all the actors were like, hey, I'll do this, and then what do you think you should do? Like that?
Right. It would be a group collaboration.
That sounds like pandemonium if it was done today. Do you want to talk about the pandemic?
Sure, why not?
What were you up to last March, 11 months ago, when they were like, all right, guys, we are going to have to shut things down?
Well, I was in Chicago. I know the last play I saw on stage was the week that they closed everything down. I was at a show at Looking Glass. I think I saw their last live performance.
Wow.
I know I hoped it would be a very temporary thing.
Mm-hmm.
The program that I'm in charge of, since it's a sort of hands-on program where we meet for 6 weeks in the summer at Roosevelt University, I thought, oh, well, let's hope by the summer we'll be able to meet, but we weren't. So to do a summer program via Zoom was interesting. I mean, there were 26 people in 4 different time zones. So it was interesting, and especially when it was a performance class where they had to direct each other to try and navigate that by Zoom was,
That sounds really difficult.
well, the upside was that a lot of these, not a lot, all of them had been doing it since March in their own schools.
Mm-hmm.
The downside was they'd all been doing it since March in their own schools, and they were sort of tired of doing that. It sort of prepared them for this school year where all of them are doing these Zoom productions.
How does that work, doing a Zoom production?
Well, it's difficult in some ways. I mean, one of the things is you can't just make a decision to direct a play and record it by Zoom because there's all these copyright issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a script that one of the companies that holds the rights will allow you to record or will allow you to do live via Zoom. So, it's interesting. I know of a few people who have done live shows, but they did them outside with lots of social distancing and audiences very small. Others that, were allowed to record their shows on Zoom, but were only allowed to play it one night. And,
Why only one night?
copyright,
Oh,
it's,
that's pretty
you
lame.
can't, it goes back to think about all the things that you're not supposed to record.
Yeah.
Plays, performances of it. It's the same thing with doing it on Zoom. And, it makes it a little difficult when you're not in the same room.
Not in the same time zone.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I don't know about this coming summer. We're hoping to be back on campus.
Hopefully getting every single person vaccinated, right?
I don't know. It depends on what the university right now, they have some in-person classes, but it's limited to the number that can be in it and the social distancing. You cannot come on campus unless you can show verification of a negative COVID test, or they're now hoping to transition where you show that you've been vaccinated. But vaccinations aren't available for everybody yet.
Yeah, no. I think my girlfriend, she teaches like 3-year-olds, like pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
I think she said she got denied for some reason to like
Well,
jump in line.
yeah. So
I don't know. I work in a COVID testing lab. Tell me why late December, because I get to see everybody's results to like, you know, different small hospitals, retirement homes, people that work there, right? Tell me why after December I saw way more positives than I should have.
well, because for the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, people didn't pay attention to social distancing.
People just don't want to listen. They
Yeah.
don't want to listen. Oh my God. I caught it twice.
Ooh.
I caught it in March, and then I tested positive for it January 5th, I want to say.
Wow.
And I feel like I was the only one taking it serious, because you'd see people like out and about, and I'm just like with a mask on at home, not doing anything, not going anywhere, and people still inviting me to go do stuff, and it's like, come on, leave me alone for 2 weeks. But yeah, I don't know. It's hopefully this summer we all get back to doing what we're doing, right?
That would be great.
What's the first play you're gonna see?
The first play that actually opened.
Doesn't even matter what it is.
Well, at this point, yeah, I mean, I certainly will attend a theater where who knows? Most theaters, if you hear about it, talk about the fall. They don't talk about the summer. So it's sort of, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking the fall too. I think this summer is, well, by the summer, they should have everyone vaccinated. And then a month or two after, they should finally see all the effects of everyone being vaccinated.
Well, you do remember getting vaccinated is a choice.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh,
There are people that will not get vaccinated. So,
you know what? That is outside of my wheelhouse. I have some opinions, and they all revolve around if you don't believe in science, shut up, you know? But that's my opinion. My opinion. You know, there's people that are way smarter than you and me when it comes to science.
yes.
Way smarter than everybody. I can't wait to get my vaccination. What about you?
Well, I now have to apply to get one. I was out of town for several months, and then I've only recently gotten back to Chicago and was in quarantine, self-quarantine once I got back. So now I'm able to leave my house. So now I have to sign up.
Well, Miss Maggie, thank you for the time out. You know, I really do appreciate it. You didn't take me seriously, I don't think, but you really haven't aged much since high school. Since I was in high school. I mean, I'm sure you've changed a little since you were in high school, but since I
Oh,
was
yeah.
in high school. I'm serious. I mean that. Oh man. All right, be honest. Be honest. Do you remember me in Guys and Dolls?
Definitely.
Was I any good? You can be honest.
You had your moments.
I had my moments of greatness.
Yes.
Oh man, it's funny.
I enjoyed your spirit.
Really? Oh, that's the best you could come up with? I think I've gotten a little better at acting. You know, when my girl's mad at me and I'm like, "Oh, babe, I'm sorry, but I don't mean it." I'm a great actor now. Yeah, I think that's everything. Is there anything you wanted to anybody you want to shout out? Anything?
Well, they're tearing down Guerin this week, don't you?
Oh, that's so sad. Tearing down the whole building.
Yeah.
Ay,
Yeah. Which is very sad. I mean, I was very sad when they closed, when they announced they were closing. And I felt really bad that then COVID forced the building to close down sooner, so people didn't really get to say goodbye. And then I know when they sold because it went back to the archdiocese, and the archdiocese sold it, but it's sort of this shock of they're actually tearing down the building this week.
it's been around since 1962 or something, or 67, right?
62.
62.
So that's hard. I mean, but lots of memories. I mean, I
Yeah,
love that auditorium.
it was. It was good.
I spent more time in that auditorium than any place I ever lived. So
32 years, from morning until night.
yep.
Six days a week. Damn, that's sad. I will rebuild it.
Yeah.
Like the $1 million man, we can rebuild them. Or her, Mother Guerin. Her. We'll rebuild her.
Yes.
Miss Mackie, why'd you have to tell me that? I'm sad. Wow, I am legit sad.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad that it closed. But when I think about in all the years I taught in Chicago, the number of schools that closed because of declining enrollment and the economy. So That I find sad.
There's this funny joke that I saw online that was like, when the economy's doing great, nothing happens. And then when the economy does bad, we all lose our jobs.
Yep.
That's a great way of explaining 2020. It was so great, right?
Yeah.
The what was it? The Dow Jones or whatever, Wall Street or whatever. What's the word for it? Wall
I don't know
Street went up.
what word you're looking for.
Like that graph of like the economy, like Wall Street went up and millions of people lost their jobs. I don't know, man. I'm sad. Well, Miss Mackie, thank you for taking the time out. I do appreciate
Well,
it.
good to talk to you. And you don't have to call me Miss Mackie. You can call me Kristen.
No, that's weird. I called you Miss Mackie for years upon years.
Yeah, I know.
I'm pretty sure you've had that conversation with other people.
Yeah. Especially when I first started my job at Roosevelt, and there was somebody in the program that I had known when he was went to Holy Cross.
Oh wow.
And he kept calling me Miss Mackie, and it's like, okay, guys, we're adults here. And so okay, just call me Kristen, okay?
Does he do that now?
Well, yeah, they call me Kristen, but it's weird because when it's adults going, you can call me by my first name.
Oh, that's still weird. You know who I talked to was Mr. Chua.
How's he?
He's good. He was really busy. He has like 3 gigs going on. But he said, yeah, you can call me Jordan. I was like, no, I'm not. I won't do it. I can't do it. The only one I will ever call by their first name is Mr. Zool, Greg. But I don't know where he is. He was my favorite teacher. So yeah, this has been another episode. So this is gonna be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube.
Oh, great.
But if anybody is interested, go to Roosevelt University and talk to Kristen. Right?
Right.
If you want to get your master's. All right. Bye, Miss Mackie.
Bye. Good to talk to you.
You too. Oh, if you're ever doing a production, let me know. You got my email and phone number.
Okay, I will.
In whenever COVID's over.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.